Welcome to Friday Night Heights, Mechanical Bulldog on Country Night in Athens. Two of the preeminent programs of the sport, Alabama and Georgia, just has a nice ring to it when these old rivals restore their rivalry in 2025 here at Stegeman Coliseum in Athens, Georgia. This should be a very fun meet, important meet for both sides. We welcome you to Friday Night Heights, presented by Sprouts Farmers Market. These two teams go back decades. You see a combined 16 NCAA titles between the two. Georgia's 10, the most of any team in the country, but the last coming in 2009. Both of these programs trying to get back to that point where they once were. And on the horizon of doing that, we welcome you in Jason Ross Jr. alongside Alicia Quinn, pumped up for this rivalry matchup. Alicia, when these two teams get together, Alabama, Georgia, just has an aura, just has a certain nostalgia to it.
There's something about a rivalry competition that really just gets everybody's juices going. And what I do find fascinating is that only 8 teams in all of the NCAA since the 80s have won NCAA title championships. So the fact that these two programs together have 16 titles is insane and speaks to their dedication, their talent, and their programs in their history over the years. So their matchup tonight is definitely going to be something that's exciting. They're both very closely ranked. Their averages is only about a 10th apart. So we're bound to have a very close competition tonight, and we'll be coming down to the last routines.
Absolutely. That's what we sign up for when we get Alabama, Georgia. Two of the gymnasts that we wanted to hone in on for Georgia, Addie Wall. We'll see her in the all-around. Then Alabama, Gabby Gladio is someone who we want to focus on.
Both of these athletes had standout performances last week, and for Alabama's Gabby Gladio, she recorded her 3rd event title of her junior season and on the floor exercise, and she is currently ranked 12th in the nation in the all-around and has just been delivering for the Crimson Tide in and out. And on Georgia, Addie Wall has become the first gym dog to compete in the all-arounds this season, scoring a 39.25 last week against Florida. Addie is also the top scorer on the uneven bars with a 9.9. She's praised by the coaching staff for her hard work ethic, and the gym dogs expect to see a lot of stellar performances from her in the future.
Those two will be to watch today. See Ashley Johnston, the head coach for Alabama, and our meet format. So 6 gymnasts per team competing in each event as we go by rotations, but the 5 best scorers will count. We'll keep you posted on that in our score tower. Lowest score dropped. Team with the highest cumulative score wins. Going in the Olympic order, home team starts on vault and the away team on the bars. Nation 1, you see Georgia will begin on the vault. Jeffrey Scott. Alabama's Chloe LaCourcier to lead off on the bars. Jeffrey Scott sliding in for what was originally Nia Howard in that leadoff spot. Only change we saw in their lineup today to begin things in rotation 1 and trying to get him off to the hot start on the vault here for Georgia.
Kicking off with a very nice stuck Yurchenko full, good height, a lot of amplitude. Head coach Cecile giving her some praise. It's a great way to start off the first rotation for the gym dogs.
For Alabama on bars, Chloe LaCourcier, coaching staff just marveling at her improvement from year 1 to year 2. That smile on her face is always there. The leadership factor really settling in now, and the reason why they have her leading off on multiple events.
I don't think most people understand how important the leadoff spot is. You're looking for somebody who's going to be consistent, that's going to hit and start getting momentum going for your team moving throughout the event. Chloe opens up, nice connection, legs, toes perfectly together, pointed. All of these little things, details matter to the judges because you are aiming for perfection with gymnastics. The closest you can get to 10 is what you are aiming for. And so far, rock solid start, just that small hop on the landing for Chloe. Good way to begin for Alabama.
Well, there's your coach, Alicia, Ashley Johnston. You know her well. What's her mindset like heading into this week?
Ashley is a former national team member. Her and I had many years together representing Team USA, and she is such a hard-working, driven woman, and she expects nothing else from this team, and she has a very good mindset coming into this week. A little rough last week. We turned the page, and we move forward.
There's Change Bashkui, transfer from Nebraska, Olympian for Hungary.
Big Yurchenko 1.5 for Changa. Does that step forward on the landing, but the distance and height on that was absolutely beautiful.
So good start on vault. for Georgia. They've got co-head coaches. There's one of them, Cecile Kankutolandi, along with Ryan Roberts, the other co-head coach. Both of these teams looking for their first SEC meet victory this season. Alabama won this meet a season ago.
Both of these coaches have such great knowledge of the sport and have really kind of turned this program around. I think you've seen the Georgia Gym Dogs look a little bit more confident, comfortable on the competition floor, and I think that's something that has been lacking from the Gym Dogs for a bit, and I think this combination of that coaching staff is doing a great job for them.
And Alicia, on the Alabama side, speaking of just being comfortable and confident, they dealt with an illness running throughout the course of their team a week ago. Just didn't have the legs that they wanted, in the words of Ashley Johnston. You know, a gymnast in and out of practice. Now you're healthy. Simply that, how much of an impact is that for them this week?
Being able to train at your full ability speaks volumes, because you're going into the competition way more confident. You have the endurance. You're not going to be struggling to get through a routine that's probably typically a little bit easier for you, instead of you're huffing and puffing because you're battling illness. So there's nothing easy about trying to do gymnastics once you've conquered an illness, or you are still kind of working through it. So Alabama had a rough week last week, but they are in good health this week and ready to deliver.
Yeah, Ashley really felt it hurt him on floor in particular.
Nice connection to a bail handstand for Lily. Getting that handstand on the high bar. Full twisting, double tuck. Slight leg separation before her feet hit the ground, but stuck that landing, which is something that the judges remember. It's the last thing they see, but it's the first deduction they'll have on their pad if they don't stick it.
And speaking of some of those nuances, Alicia, take a look at our vault points of emphasis.
There are three main things that judges are looking for in vault. Your start value, because not all vaults start from a 10.0. Your execution, or how well you do the vault, and of course your landing. They want to see control, and ideally gymnasts want to stick.
There's Anaya Smith coming up on vault for Georgia.
Another 1.5, stuck the landing, but she did have 1 foot crossing that line, which is showing that she deviated from the vault. So she's gonna have a slight deduction on the landing for not falling within those 2 lines on the vaulting mat. Nice form in the air, just rock solid on that landing. Georgia has recently implemented the stick jacket. You could see her receiving that. It's a nice leather jacket that's bedazzled, given to anybody who sticks a landing.
You were looking forward to that, Alicia. We thought it was going to be like red and gold, or red and black, bedazzled, but no, it's nice and leather.
It's black and gold and it's bedazzled. I mean, it's great. I was hoping for a red one, but I do like the black leather jacket as well. It's very classy.
There's Natalia Pavlak on bars for the first time this season for Alabama.
Shaposh to bail handstand. Tiny leg separation as her hands caught the bar. Her legs came apart ever so slightly. Short on the handstand on the high bar. Again, we are looking for perfection. The judges will take small deductions for that. Chest a little low on the landing for my liking. Again, if you're working back your endurance like this team has been from being sick, that's something you'd see the struggle right at the landing when your energy's getting a little bit low from the effort.
And by the way, you see our score tower on the right side of the screen. That'll show the gymnasts in order of the rotation. The score that is lighter than the others is the lowest score in the rotation that you would currently want to drop. Mind you, though, that is currently being counted. As we go back to the vault, Nyla Aquino.
A nice soup vault for Nyla. A little bit low and unsure of herself on that landing. She had the height, she had the distance, and instead of just keeping her body tight and keeping her chest up tall, she relaxed ever so slightly just too soon. The half on, nice body position in the air, and you can see there she just didn't trust it. If she lifted her shoulders up to shift her weight back, she would have had a nice solid landing.
He's trying to follow up the 9.9 that they gave Anaya Smith. That is currently the highest score on vault for Georgia. As we, speaking of scores, currently in a conference with the judges on bars with that last Natalia Pavlak score after they gave Lily Hudson a 9.850. Gabby Gladio patiently waiting.
the beauty of having subjective scoring. You have a judges conference, and that happens. It's a mandatory conference when two judges' individual scores are outside of the range. So you want to ideally be close enough in range where you can average the scores and it makes sense. But if it ever falls out of that, they're going to have a little powwow about it.
Don't have too much discrepancy. Leads to the powwows.
Leads to the powwows.
We love a good powwow, but we want to avoid them as often as possible.
If you're next in the lineup waiting for your turn, you really want to avoid the powwows.
You don't want a powwow when you're waiting. That is what Gabby Gladio is currently trying to do, and now can step up as they gave Pavlak a 9-8.
Gabby starts off mounting onto the high bar. Blind change to big Jaeger to immediate overshoot, getting bonus points for connecting those two release moves together. Blind change full to immediate double tuck. Rocks that landing, holds it to make sure she doesn't get a deduction. And that is a nice routine for Alabama. You get to see the height above the bar. She gets so much height and momentum from the Jaeger to the immediate overshoot. To be able to control that takes some skills, and she does that very well.
So now here's Addie Wall, who we talked about in the open, such a staple in this Georgia lineup. First gymnast to compete in the all-around for Georgia this season. Here she is on vault.
Addie does another Yurchenko 1.5. I like the roster full of 10.0 start values. Had a little too much juice. Did take a decent sized step or two at the end of that. So the judges will unfortunately knock her for that. But if she can get that landing under control, that will be a beautiful 1.5 vault for the future.
Now getting into the depths of this first rotation, Ryan Fuller, the freshman from Knighton, California, awaiting. You see bottom of that bars rotation, Alicia, for Alabama. You get two freshmen in Ryan Fuller and Peyton Walker. What does that say about the trust that Coach Johnston has in the underclassmen?
It's showing that she is believing in their ability to handle that pressure. To have the last two spots be going to freshmen, that means that they're delivering in practice and that they prove to her that they can hold their worth and their nerves when it counts.
They're also a Northern California duo. They grew up in the same gym, know each other well, good friends, now making their way south to Alabama and at the crucial part of this Bars lineup.
Bars must have been a strong suit at their club gym growing up, because they definitely can handle the pressure. They have great fundamentals. Back up on the high bar. This routine has been relatively clean so far. If she sticks the landing, this should score. Oh, fighting for it. Unfortunately, when you do that extra fight at the end and you drop your chest, you're actually giving the judges something more to take. So it's almost weighing the pros and cons of taking that tiny small step or fighting for the landing, because that chest down right there, that's going to get a deduction. But what a nice routine aside from that one little mistake at the end.
So now Nicole King to wrap up this vault rotation for Georgia.
Another Yurchenko 1.5. I love a stock lineup of 10.0 start values. This is great, especially on vault. Nicole made a good approach to the table. Nice open shoulders on the block. Drops her chin just a little bit towards the end, causing that step forward, but good distance, nice height. Again, once we get these landings under control, Georgia will definitely be putting up strong scores on the vault.
You're right. Both of these teams, when you see them on vault, have several 10.0 start values. When we see Bama come up on the vault, next they'll have 6 10.0 start values. So definitely a key event for both teams. Meanwhile, mention the freshman for Alabama at the tail end of this rotation. Here's Peyton Walker now, coming up to anchor this rotation for the Tide.
Taking that last breath, calming her nerves. Peyton mounts up onto the high bar, opening up with a beautiful pack salto. Shaposh to Ginger. I love that connection. Not something you see in the NCAA very often. Very difficult, getting bonus points for those two skills. Nice dismount, small hop on the landing. Great start for Alabama on the bars. The beautiful pack. You can see the extension in her body. Everything is glued together. Ankles, toes, knees, all very well squeezed. And then just finishing up that routine, the full twisting double tuck. Nailed it.
We're still awaiting that Peyton Walker score, but you see the slim difference between these two teams after the first rotation. 16 combined NCAA titles between these two programs. A lot of history being restored today. We're going to talk the history of these two storied programs when we come back to Stegman. Friday Night Heights is presented by Sprouts Farmers Market, official healthy grocer of the Southeastern Conference. So many historic decades shared between these two programs at the top of the sport. The 16 combined national titles, ton of SEC titles combined over the course of the years, and individual titles as well. You see the program comparison here and just what these two mean to the sport, what they've meant to the sport over the course of a number of years now. And in this SEC meet, this is going to be big for both teams, looking for the first SEC meet victory of the year. A lot on the line once again between the two. Jason Ross Jr. alongside Alicia Quinn. Alicia, not going to be an easy overnight climb back to where they once were. Those numbers we saw on the screen there, but they've got the right coach on the Alabama side and coaches plural for Georgia to try to get there.
There's a lot of history in both of these programs, and I think that they both know how to win and what it takes to make that happen. But there's a lot of contributing factors in what makes a championship team. It's your athletes, it's their health, it's your ability to produce when you need to. So the fact that they have the coaches in place now that I think can both take these programs to where they need to be is super important. But it's also about finding the right group of athletes to really propel you there. And it's the recruiting and it's the work when nobody else is watching. So now that they have the staff, it's about getting the team on board and getting the athletes on board.
Absolutely. Well, you saw the scores on vault and bars to begin. Very tight. Now we'll go to the second rotation here at Stegman.
The vibe is just so different. No other gyms match it.
Competing in Steg is just like crazy.
It's so loud.
Oh my goodness. The crowd and the supporters, they're so loyal.
Steg's packed out like every single meet. We're the second most attended sport other than football. Just having all of those people there for gymnastics, I've never experienced something like Steg.
We're just dogs, that's all. We got the dog in us.
You see first rotation, very tight, tied at 49.150. And now heading into rotation two, it'll be Georgia on the bars, Alabama on the vault. Heard Nia Howard there saying, we're just dogs. She's going to be the one that leads us off on the bars. And first, Karis Germain will start on the vault for Alabama.
Opening up with the 1.5, does take that step backwards, which shows the vault judges that she has slight under rotation on that vault. So you typically see a bigger deduction for an under rotated vault versus an over rotated vault.
There's Nia Howard. Again, we entering the day thought she might lead off Georgia in 3 rotations, but ended up that just being 2. This is one of them on the bars. Last year came back from an injury in the offseason, fully healthy this year.
Nia starts out on the high bar to a nice release to immediate overshoot. Tad bit short on that handstand, blind change full to immediate double tuck. Got some height over the bar for that first flip to be completed before she even does her second flip, but strong start for Georgia.
Alicia, we've got ourselves a fun night. Coming up next, Friday Night Heights rolls on at the Maravich Center in Baton Rouge. Number 3 LSU hosting number 9 Mizzou. That is next at 8:30 Eastern Time. Part of our Friday Night Heights doubleheader here on SEC Network. Corinne Banagin set to come up next for Alabama after the 9.725 from Germain to lead it off.
Strong approach to the vault for Corinne. Super strong 1.5, small hop on that landing. The difficulty with the 1.5, it's a blind landing, so you typically are searching for the mat so you can try to stick it. And sometimes when you try to stick, that tends to mess you up a little bit. She had good height off the table, just needed a little bit better air awareness. She left her head behind her a tad bit too long. If she had pulled her chin around to spot the end of the mat, she would have had just a little more control.
How do you trust yourself to not think about that stick when you can't see where you're going to try to stick it?
Oh, it's like a very strong mental game. You're like, don't think about the stick. Don't think about the stick. And as you're running, you're like, all you want to do is stick. So it's just finding the middle ground of focusing on your corrections and not the outcome.
It's like life. Don't think about it too much, but then, of course, you go ahead and think about it. Emma Mason set to come up next on the bars for Georgia, following the 9.775 from Nia Howard.
Emma mounts up onto the high bar. Nice pike Jaeger to immediate overshoot. Building up those bonus points to start from a 10.0. Line change full to immediate double tuck. Good strong stick on that landing. Held it just for good measure to make sure the judges knew she wasn't moving. That pike Jaeger getting the height above the bar. The higher you are above the bar, typically the easier it is to catch and have control on the post swing.
Lily Hudson getting set to come up on the vault now for Alabama, following the 9.825 from Banagin.
Sticking that 1.5 for Lily on vault. Lily had such an aggressive approach to the table on her speed. Slight shoulder angle there off the table, but she whips that twist around and sees her feet are digging in to not move at all on that landing.
Alicia, they really feel like Lily has honed in on her technique with vault. It's been a strong suit for her through the first few weeks of the season. Holly Schneider now up on the bars for Georgia, one of their underclassmen, following Emma Mason's 9.850.
Nice, strong, quick connections for Holly in the beginning of that bar routine. What I like about all the Georgia routine buildups is they're very concise, a little bit of a form break there, fights to keep the routine going. Ideally, she wants to finish that pirouette in a handstand and then go to the dismount. She was a little bit crooked, lost some body position there. Not the way she wanted to do it, but she pulled it out and without any major errors.
Tight meet so far into the second rotation of 4 between these two teams, two storied programs. Jordan Paradise, who missed last year for Alabama, worked her way back, really took the time a year ago to watch her teammates, learn from them, get better, and now she is back on vault for Alabama.
Another 1.5 small hop on that landing. These just keep getting cleaner and cleaner, and I know it's still relatively early in the season, but the more fine-tuning this team does on these landings, they're going to set themselves apart on this one event alone, which can help, in theory, get their higher team score at the end of the competition.
Things start to get contagious throughout the course of the lineup, Celicia.
For sure. Sometimes sticks are contagious, and you get yourself going, you got that momentum, and it's one after the other. So building positive momentum is huge, especially in the early rotations.
Addie Wall awaiting here. We're all still currently awaiting that Holly Schneider score. Wall again competing in the all-around today for Georgia, if you tuned in late. Not new for her, though. Did that 6 times last year.
Addie starting her routine on the low bar. So handstand to Shaposh, to Pack Salto. There's a certain amount of requirements that an athlete has to fulfill to get that 10.0 start value. So you'll see them do release moves, bar changes, pirouettes, and a high value dismount like that double layout, which was beautiful.
Let's look at it again.
Making sure she rocks that handstand. You have a small degree where you can vary, where the judges will not take any deductions, and that's 10 degrees. So you have between 90 and 80 to make sure you're there. And then she builds the momentum with the giants and sticks that dismount.
And big coming after the score that you see, it's the lightest shade that they would currently want to drop in at 9.650. Meanwhile, Gladio on the vault.
Another 1.5. Their coach, Justin Spring, told me he'd be very grumpy if they didn't have 6 10.0 start values on vault today, and he delivered, making all their lineup do a 10.0, and they did a good job.
We don't want a grumpy Justin. You've experienced a grumpy Justin, Alicia.
I have experienced a grumpy Justin. I've known him for a long time. He was on the men's Olympic team in 2008 when I was on the women's team, and so he can be a grumpy guy sometimes, and nobody wants that.
Grumpy but kind at heart. Here's Lily Smith down at the bottom of this rotation before Jeffrey Scott will anchor it. So big routine coming up here on the bars for Georgia.
Nice clean handstand for Lily to start off. Good backswing to immediate bail handstand. What I was mentioning earlier is how concise the Georgia routines are. They hit the requirements, they get what they need to start from a 10. They're fighting for that landing. Oh, almost had it. But the shorter the time you're on the event, the less deductions you can get. So do what you need to do, get your 10.0 start value, be efficient on and off.
Lily actually kind of worked her way back from an injury on bar. She started the season only on beam and floor. So back on an event that she really enjoys. See what they end up giving her. Meanwhile, Chloe LaCourcier to wrap up the second rotation for Alabama here on vault.
A nice 1.5. Again, that step backwards indicating just a slight under rotation, but the distance, what I like is that they're going for the 10.0s. They're not holding back. You'd rather risk the higher start value and potentially of the little bit more of the deduction versus going a little bit safer with the Yurchenko full and not getting the full potential of your vault lineup.
Yeah, 3 straight 9.850 scores on vault prior to LaCourcier going there. So we'll see what they end up giving her, and they ended up giving Lily Smith a 9.775. Right now you're dropping the 9.650, and Jeffrey Scott looking to have a big ending here for this lineup on the Georgia side.
Nice handstand. 2 beautiful connections, sky high on her first release. Moving well between the bars. You see co-head coach Ryan Roberts there for the spot. As long as he doesn't touch her, he's allowed to be there for the safety of the athlete. Getting another angle of this first release. That way you can really appreciate how high above the bar she really gets into that connection between the release and then the pack salto. And then a nice look at that double A, fighting for that landing. They are not trying to give away things for free. They are fighting for every landing that they have.
The consistency of Alabama on vault really shining through. We know we would see 6 10.0 start values there. We're going to talk more about Chloe LaCourcier's journey to where she is now when we come back here on Friday Night Heights.
Defying the odds, defying gravity, and really just following her heart.
I'm officially on the pre-med track. Nervous because obviously those classes do get a little intense. Chose neuroscience because I grew up in an epilepsy and wanted to do something in that field because those doctors made such an impact on me, and I want to be able to make an impact on them. Not knowing that, like, before me, I'm putting my hair up, there's a chance I have a seizure, and I have before. But it just makes me realize that that doesn't define me.
Stuck landing. landing.
That created such resiliency and allowed me to understand that I am capable of doing anything.
I'm gonna make it count.
Such a cool feature on Chloe LaCourcier, showcasing that uncertainty turned into resilience and dreaming and doing anything in her life. Really neat. And a part of this Impact underclassmen group for Alabama. We've already seen Peyton Walker, Kylie Kwame as well. It is a group that's going to be a part of the future for the Crimson Tide, and a very important part of it. Already seen Chloe LaCourcier a couple of times today. Alicia Quinn, Jason Ross Jr. Alicia, what do you make out of this group of underclassmen for Alabama and what they mean to the program right now?
Alabama has a lot of underclassmen. They have 6 freshmen and 3 sophomores, so giving them a big makeup of underclassmen that are really delivering for this team. They had some really big shoes to fill with some of their upperclassmen graduating and moving on from the program. So the fact that they've come in and they've made names for themselves so young, that shows they have a lot of potential to grow and just get even better as the years go on. Absolutely.
Think of names like Luisa Blanco, Makari Doggett, who departed. So now you have those names we just looked at slotting into very important roles. We have rotation 3 coming up in a tight rivalry meet between Alabama and Georgia here on SEC Network. Back in Athens, the home of Suzanne Yacoulin, the legendary Georgia head coach. One of the most decorated coaches in the history of collegiate gymnastics, calling the dogs, calling this student section to stand up for rotation 3 here in Athens. When you get Alabama, Georgia, the stars show up.
I think it's safe to say if we were asking who let the dogs out, it would be Suzanne. She had let them out in the Coliseum.
Getting the Coliseum ready for rotation 3. You see after rotation 2, Alabama with that slim lead. Coming up, we'll have Bama on the floor, Georgia on the beam. Nia Howard will lead off on the beam for Georgia.
Being the leadoff on balance beam is a love-hate position. I personally loved being leadoff. I got to go, get my routine done, try to be the momentum setter for the rest of my squad, but it can be a lot of pressure, and I think you have to find the right athlete to fill that role, and Nia has been one for the Gym Dogs who've shown the composure, and that's why they keep giving her this leadoff spot. Solid on that side aerial. Finishing your team with the back handspring. Gainer full off the side, sticks the landing. Great way to kick off the beam rotation for the Georgia Gym Dogs.
Really good start there. It's time to huddle up, brought to you by Regions Bank. So Alicia, one area Alabama wants to improve on this week is the floor versus what they did against Oklahoma.
They definitely struggled a bit last week, but it's funny how much a week can change things. Talking to their coach, Justin Spring, he said they had the most intense training that they've had this past week, and they are ready to dominate. So they're not going to make the same mistakes twice, and they are looking to redeem themselves on the floor exercise.
And on top of that, Alicia, again, dealt with an illness running through the team a week ago and felt like it impacted them most on this event. Peyton Walker will lead off here on the floor for Alabama.
Floor is definitely the one event that you need to have your endurance, and if you don't, it will show on your performance and how well you can control what you're doing on the floor. Nice quick double pike for that first pass. Some athletes are flippers, some athletes are twisters, and she is definitely one that has that quick twitch, flips herself around very quickly, and that's my favorite type of tumbling, when you can have that fast rotation and you get your skills around effortlessly. Peyton getting ready for her next pass. A nice round off 1.5 front half to switch leap jump, which you get connection points for immediately connecting tumbling and dance elements, which helps get your start value to a 10.0.
All right, good start for Peyton Walker on the floor. We talked about those underclassmen for Alabama, and right on cue, there's one of the freshmen. Well, we know Georgia on beam, it's been tricky in the past. Feel like they've made improvements this year in how they're preparing and training on this event. Coming up next, Anya Turner, sophomore who had a really strong ending to her freshman year at the SEC Championship.
Balance beam is the combination of dance elements, acro skills, and you have a max time of 1 minute and 30 seconds to get all of your special requirements hit. Nice 3-skill series. Anya. Something that a lot of people have been talking about this Georgia Gym Dog squad on balance beam is that their composure and their confidence seems to have grown immensely. And the coaching staff thinks that's due to the mental training they have implemented in their program to help their athletes become more prepared and streamlined going into competitions in and out, and locks that landing. And I think the mental training is helping because they look so confident on the balance beam.
Yep, a lot of meditation, visualization ahead of time. Here's what Anya visualized beforehand.
She visualized this 3-element series, the back handspring layout, and she was perfectly on that beam. And then the nice dismount, showcasing her control.
Now here's LaCourcier. Talked about her, looked so incredibly sharp in warm-ups today. Now she's going to step up on the floor after Peyton Walker's 9.775.
Chloe's first tumbling pass. A nice double tuck. Definitely showcasing more control on their landings compared to how they were last week. Front layout, front 1.5. Beautiful Georgia half to wolf roll. Layout to front full. Nice clean 3 solid passes for Chloe. Little tongue out at the end. She had a great performance.
All right, we'll see what they end up giving Chloe. Flip it over to Georgia, a big debut for the Dogs. Kara Aker getting set to make her season debut. First competition since the 2022 NCAA Championship. So a couple of years since her last routine. Now she'll step up on the beam.
Kara mounts with a switch leap mount. Is a club gymnast at Gage, and they have a very distinct beam working style, and she looks beautiful on this event. She makes it look effortless. Very smooth. Nice aerial to back. That step out.
A fan favorite. She's been putting in a lot of work behind the scenes one-on-one with Cecile Kankkunen-Landi as well.
Looking to cap off her debut as a gym dog with a strong dismount. And she does. What a routine to make her statement as a Georgia gym dog.
And it was Cecile who came right over for the first hug. First of many in there. Let's look at it again.
When you do leaps like this, you want to hit 180 degrees, and she is right at that threshold. And it's beautiful, showcasing her flexibility. And just capping off that routine with a stuck landing.
So a big debut for Aker there on the beam. Now Jamison Sears coming up on floor for Alabama. This routine always has a lot of flair to it.
Jamison getting right into it. Nice high double pike. Nice dynamic leap connections, showcasing 180 degrees. Front tuck, step out to double tuck. A little extra juice on that step back. Kept it in bounds, but could have had a little more control. But what a fun floor routine. Another look at that beautiful switch half, just really showcasing her dynamic flexibility. And different athletes will do different floor routines. Jamison had a 2-pass routine, but if you hit the difficulty and the criteria you need to with 2 passes with your leaps and tumbling, that's all you have to do. You don't always have to do 3 tumbling passes.
All right, well, how about Georgia on beam so far? Yeah, back-to-back 9.9s here. Anya Turner with the 9.9, and then Aker, they ended up giving her a 9.925. And now Jeffrey Scott trying to follow that up.
This has been a very strong event for them, and Cecile has always been a very good balance beam coach, and her athletes have always done well in this event. So her presence in this program is definitely being seen, especially on the balance beam. Beautiful switch leap split jump. The famous moonwalk. That one athlete will get the coveted position of being able to perform. Front handspring, front full. Such a unique dismount that you don't see very often, which I am a big fan of. It very well done.
She's the 8th gym dog to perform the moonwalk on the beam and does it so well.
What I like about her beam routine competition is it's not the typical skills you see that everyone else does. A front handspring to back handspring layout, step out, and again this dismount, a front handspring to front full. Nice straight body position, which really is not that easy to achieve coming from a front handspring, but she does it so beautifully.
Stellar start on beam for Georgia. Now Shania Adams on the floor for Alabama following Sears' 9-8.
Shania opening up with a solid wolf turn. It's not my favorite of the dance elements of turns, but she did that really well. Super high double pike for her first tumbling pass. Coach Amelia Hudley in the back going through the choreography as well. The Alabama staff has such a unique bond and great energy around them. And it really showcases through their athletes when they compete. Shania going for her last pass. Round off 1.5 front layout. Gets close to that line but keeps her feet in bounds. Another strong set for the Crimson Tide.
We have a sensational women's basketball quadruple header Sunday on the SEC Network. You get 5 top 15 teams here. It starts at noon Eastern. Some exciting matchups that you do not want to miss. Going to be a really good day of hoops. About 4 weeks away from March now. Here's Lily Smith coming up on the beam. 3 straight scores now of 9-9 or better.
Nice front aerial to back tuck. A little unsure of herself on that landing. Beautiful switch loop connection. What I like about Lily's gymnastics is how she has her hands. They are very elegant and finish her gymnastics in her lines, and it's just, I'm gonna say it's very gymnasty hands, but it's just like something that another gymnast would notice, like her toe point, her hands, her expression, how she finishes her stuff. It's very unique to her, which I like.
All the way to the fingertips.
All the way to the fingertips. Fighting for that landing. Again, showcasing that 180 degrees, perfectly straight, pointed toes, straight knees, and the height she gets. You guys forget that it's only 4 inches wide. It's the width of a cell phone. And these athletes are doing some gnarly skills and showcasing their strength, their grace, all while standing on a 4-inch beam. So impressive.
Lily Hudson now on the floor for Alabama.
Lily opening up with some power, a front layout, a front double full. Nice dynamic leap connection. standoff. 2.5 twist. This routine or tumbling is full of difficulty. Very upbeat, moving nonstop. The combination of dance and tumbling and nonstop movement for 90 seconds for the most part can be very exhausting. So we talked about how last week they were sick and the endurance really took an impact, but Lily doesn't look like she missed a beat. That beautiful connection, the front layout to front double full. Blind landing, she knows exactly where she is, has great air awareness, knows where that corner is, and has plenty of space from that.
See Ashley Johnston there, the two-time champ herself as a gymnast at Alabama. Well, Alicia, I know you've got the young kids at home. Ashley does as well, her 2-year-old Josie and 4-year-old son Colton. Josie, apparently her toe points are already elite. We talk about the details on beam. She might still be up watching. Learning here from Brooke Lychowski. My big question for you, Alicia, is Cade still awake for Mom's first meet back?
He is kind of like a narcoleptic puppy, so he is awake and then he's asleep. So he was probably awake for about 5 minutes and now is probably asleep, but hopefully he'll be awake when I'm done. This has been a strong beam set so far for Brooke. Had a nice series, has been very dynamic. Now those two leaps were supposed to be connected, but since she had a small balance check, she broke the connection to not get a bigger deduction and seamlessly makes it work. So a lot of these athletes are thinking on their feet when they don't have the routine go the way they're supposed to. They need to be able to improvise, and that's something that they're taught in their training to work through, to not show any mistakes on their face, to make it look seamless. And she finished that routine well. Like, if I hadn't pointed out, some people may not have noticed that those two things were supposed to be connected. She does the switch leap, small, unsure of herself step. You know what? I'm just going to add some dance here, do my next skill, and keep the routine flowing.
That'll wrap the rotation for Georgia on beam. We'll see what they end up giving Brooke. Meanwhile, Gabby Gladio anchoring this floor lineup, trying to follow the 9.875 from Lily Hudson.
Gabby opening up with a full twisting double back. It's one twist, two flips. Nice torch take. Have to straddle full. Teammates cheering her on the sidelines. It's not always easy going into a rival's home gym, but when you have your teammates supporting you around the floor like that, it makes it a little bit better. And Gabby finished the routine very strong, beautiful connection pass at the end. Paying homage to Makari Doggett with the way her routine finishes. Bama's calling for a 10. That was a very clean routine, super high. Half in, half out, or full twisting double back. It depends on how you want to call it or view it. But look at that 180-degree split in combination with the tumbling. Absolutely beautiful.
And both teams really strong in rotation 3. Georgia on beam. 3 straight scores of 9-9 or better at 1 point. They'll drop the Gleichowski score. We're going to look around the SEC, talk about why this is such an important meet, such an important final rotation coming up here on SEC Network. All right, a lot of fun action on Friday Night Heights. Aaliyah Finnegan, the 2024 NCAA floor champion, coming up next on SEC Network. Haley Bryant as well, the 2024 NCAA all-around champion. Both on your television screens next. To see the SEC in the NCAA rankings, top 8 reach the SEC championship. Alabama right now on the outside looking in. Huge meet for them right now. Still, of course, a lot of action to go in the course of this season, but each meet going to mean so much in this deep conference, the toughest to compete in the nation. Welcome you back in, Jason Ross Jr. alongside Alicia Quinn. Well, Alicia, we know one team will be unfortunately left out this year in the SEC, which is just a testament to how tough it is to compete in this league and a testament to how important this meet is for both teams.
The addition to Oklahoma to the SEC has definitely made things a lot more interesting. Now all of these conference meets, they really matter, because if you want to make it to the SEC championships, your win-loss record, it's going to mean something. So these athletes are doing their best to improve each competition. That way they are not on the outside looking in when it comes to SECs.
Absolutely. So those teams that we're talking about right now that are coming up next on the ESPN family of networks, so you got 4 of the top 5 teams in the nation on floor. That's certainly an event that's going to be key in our mate coming up next year in the 4th rotation. But when we look at Oklahoma in particular and what you want to look at on their floor routines, what is that?
Floor is definitely a fan favorite, and something that Oklahoma does so well is the composition of their routines. Their tumbling is full of difficulty and performed with such good control. And then their leaps, they are hitting 180 degrees. They're showcasing their dynamic flexibility, and they're making sure that they're not losing any meaningless deductions on their artistry and their leaps and all of the things that help their performance look the way it does. KJ Kindler does a great job making each routine unique to all of her athletes, and they are on top of the leaderboard because of it.
Here's those meets we talked about. Mizzou and LSU next on SEC Network, then Arkansas and Oklahoma, 9 Eastern time on ESPN2, number 1 team in the country. We're going to come back with a big 4th rotation and a very tight meet.
Here's now.
Friday Night Heights is presented by Sprouts Farmers Market, official healthy grocer of the Southeastern Conference. Jamison Sears bringing the juice on the floor. Georgia brought the heat on the beam, though. It was a fun finish to that 3rd rotation. Gabby Gladio ended up getting a 9-9 on floor. Georgia dropped the Gleichowski score, ended up having a really, really stellar 3rd rotation, that 49.425, quarter 10th off its 2024 season high for a rotation. Now on beam leading off for Alabama. We've said Chloe LaCoursier's name multiple times today. She's such a key staple in this lineup. Here she is on beam.
You can see the team scores in the bottom of your screen. They are just 1/10 apart. Now, balance beam is the make or break event. If Alabama can keep their composure and put up some strong scores, they will keep this competition close. But Georgia is the home team, and they're on floor, and there's nothing like the home field advantage on the floor exercise. Nice front aerial, 2 back handspring step out for Chloe. Round off 1.5. Did you see her toes just scraping to stay on the place where her feet hit the mat on that dismount? Not giving it up. Great way to finish that first leadoff beam routine.
You see Ashley Johnston, the head coach there. She told us earlier this week, we've been simulating in practice what it would look like and sound like in a road atmosphere if we had a tight meet heading into the 4th rotation. That is exactly what we have, as Aaron Williams, like you said, that home advantage on the floor here.
Aaron getting ready for her first pass. Nice, well-controlled double pike. Second pass, front layup, front full. Room to spare to the corner. Going to finish up her pass with a double tuck. Her smile says it all. She's definitely pleased with this lead-off routine. Another look at that first tumbling pass. Nice controlled double pike. You can see her feet both hit, and she takes that step back effortlessly. It's not rushed backwards because she had a little too much power, and she had great height on that last pass as well, rocking that stick jacket.
Earning a leather stick jacket. So now here, Corinne Banagin on beam, coming up for Alabama.
Solid back handspring layup step up for Corinne's acro series. Nice difficult lead connection. When you throw your head back like that, you lose sight of the balance beam, making it a little bit more difficult to control the landing, and she did that very well, ending with a back handspring gainer full. Not moving those legs on that landing. She did beam angry. She was like an angry beam worker, which I get. I was one of those, but she makes it work.
Taking out the aggressiveness with an aggressive beam routine, the Ramsey, New Jersey native steps up to the plate. Speaking of stepping up to the plate, Holly Schneider next on the floor here for Georgia after a 9.875 for Aaron Williams to lead it off.
Holly kicking off her floor routine with the front handspring, front 1.5 to back layup to double stag jump. See coaches pulling off that sting mat. Athletes are allowed to use supplemental matting just to give them a little extra protection. It's a long NCAA season. Using those mats helps protect their bodies just a little bit. Handspring double pike. Great routine for Holly. This connection pass had a lot of things going on. The front Rudy to layout, to double stag. Closed it out with a nice clean double pike.
First time we've seen Gabby Ladany today, the sophomore from Spring, Texas, stepping up on the beam. Her head coach Ashley Johnston called these moments like competing in a pressure cooker in the SEC, and the tight moments and important parts of this fourth rotation.
Front aerial to split jump. She wasn't perfectly square, but she kept her arms moving and continued to connect her split jump. So as long as the connection isn't broken by a pause, she will still get credit for that. Solid on that back handspring layout step out series. Gabby looking to finish this beam routine. Back handspring gainer full off the side. Sticks the landing. That back handspring, she kicks her, swings her leg off the side to help give her the rotation of the flip with the full twist.
And one of the other points of emphasis in practice for Alabama was the floor. You get to submit routine summaries after each regular season meet, 6 routine summaries, and one routine in particular they wanted to look at was floor in terms of where they could get better based on the feedback from the judges. And now stepping up on the floor for Georgia is Bashka.
Chenga competed internationally, and I think something that Cecile has brought to this Gym Dog squad is the ability to recruit even more so internationally. She has 2 coaches on her staff that also were international gymnasts, so I think their worldwide reach has now expanded even more, and all eyes are on this program, so I wouldn't be surprised if you see more international athletes joining this squad later on down the road. Next pass, round off back handspring, double pike. So far, this has been a strong floor rotation for Georgia.
Well, Lily Hudson, this Leo is maybe lucky, Alicia, because 2 years ago, wearing the same Leo, she put up her first and only 10 on the beat.
Now, I know gymnasts can be a little superstitious, so the fact that she could be possibly wearing her lucky Leo and looking for a repeat of a 10.0, I think that's something that maybe is playing in her mind. And it is such a beautiful leotard, so maybe it is her lucky leotard. I don't know, other sports typically wear the same uniform every time, but gymnasts, we get to spice it up and wear different leotards for each competition, which is nice. So far, so good. Solid front aerial to back handspring layout step out. Small balance check there, so unfortunately I don't think she'll be getting her next 10.0 with her lucky leotard, but this routine has still been relatively clean aside from that small balance check. Ending her with this almost stuck 1.5, small hop backwards on that landing. I think we put the pressure on with the lucky Leo.
Well, she was following up a 9.875 from Ladany, so we'll see what they end up giving. Lily, and this meet that we said at the beginning would likely come down to the final rotation, and it is. Down to the wire, Nyla Aquino on the floor here for Georgia.
Nyla opening up with a front tuck through the double tuck. So much power, so much height. Tad bit uncontrolled on that landing, but the amount of height she had on that double tuck was impressive. Her floor routine makes me want to go out dancing. I haven't gone out in a long time. I'm too old for that, but she's getting me excited on a Friday night. Nice leap connection there. Double pike. Much better control on that landing than her opening pass. But the amount of energy she admits in this floor routine is insane. Just non-stop dancing, tumbling.
You can still go out dancing, Alicia. You just got to bring Cade with you on a Friday night now.
I'll be wearing like a baby Bajorn out in the club. Jason, I don't think that's cool anymore. I don't even think they'll let me in the club at this point. Close out the routine with a double tuck, or excuse me, double pike. So much height, great control on that closing tumbling pass. Georgia is really trying to pull away with this one, but Alabama is fighting to keep it close.
Shania Adams on the beam here for Alabama.
Small balance, actually decent sized balance check after that front aerial. She dropped that shoulder, not keeping her body square, which caused her to make that wobble, but nice recovery on the back handspring layout, step out. I truly believe the secret to being a strong beam worker is having tight arms. If you have tight arms throughout your beam routine and they are where they're supposed to be throughout all your skills, you'll 9 times out of 10 be able to stay on the balance beam. And I said that to the athletes I coached. I, preached it to myself when I was an athlete competing. Soft legs on that landing, but finished the routine relatively strong for Shania.
So Helen Hu coming up next. 2-time SEC Specialist of the Week. Had the 10 earlier this season. We'll see her in Baton Rouge as Mizzou goes on the road in a big SEC meet coming up next on SEC Network. Now Addie Wall in the all-around today on the floor here for Georgia following the 9.850 from Aquino.
Addie's first pass, full twisting double tuck. Switch leap to torch at half, wolf full. Addie getting ready for her next tumbling pass. Front tuck, step out, through to double tuck. And the crowd loves it.
Show you first pass, last pass here, Alicia.
Kicked it off with that full twisting double tuck. Difficult start value, or difficult value skill to open up a routine, and I do appreciate when athletes go for the harder skills. Closed it out with a double tuck. Gym Dog should be happy with that performance. Gabby Gladio on the balance beam now for Alabama. She's had a solid performance all evening long. Looking to close that out with a fighting to stay on that acro series back handspring. Lay out 2 feet. An aerial to beat jump. As the dismount remains for Gabby. And she sticks it. Little mistake on that series, but finish the routine strong. Once you make a mistake, you can't give the judges any more deductions from that point. And you can see her hips and her feet weren't square on the beam, so then that causes her to have to shift her feet and take that step back and not be as solid on the landing as she would like to be.
That'll wrap it on beam for Alabama. Georgia, at this point, can't be caught. Their third rotation was huge. And how this meet ended up playing out, and Lily Smith trying to put a punctuation point on it.
Lily's first tumbling pass, a front double full, very well executed. Got off that handspring, 1.5 front lay for her next pass. Really looking to close out this final routine for the Gym Dogs. Front 1.5 to straddle jump. And that does it. What a night for the Gym Dogs.
Let's look at it again. Capping off a night they can celebrate on the home turf against their rival.
Opened up with that nice front handspring double full. Makes it look so easy to get around, and closed it out with that Rudy to straddle jump.
So Georgia takes the next chapter of this storied rivalry. It goes back decades. It was the big third rotation 49.425 when they were on beam. It created the separation, and it's Georgia coming out on top. Alicia, this was fun. Always a pleasure with you. Our crew in the truck, you guys were phenomenal. Our producer, Robin Segretti, director, Eric Gray. Don't forget, Friday Night Heights continues next on SEC Network. We've got Mizzou and LSU coming up on the other side of the break. I'm Jason Ross Jr. saying so long from historic Stegman Coliseum, where Georgia takes this rivalry meet